I'm the
Can you
founder
let me know,
and
Laszlo? I'm sorry
CEO
for
at Access
interrupting.
Now.
We are playing from
I
another
live in a
platform.
world that was not built for me.
Oh, okay.
As a wheelchair user, I'm constantly navigating barriers from steps, broken elevators, and overall a lack of mindfulness and understanding of what it means to establish an accessible space. Millions of places around the world still have barriers that prevent me from engaging with my community, with traveling abroad, and so much more. And this isn't just my problem. Over 1 billion people live on the planet with a disability today and represent the world's largest minority group. And we know that actually many people benefit from accessible spaces beyond people with disabilities, including parents with strollers, seniors, service providers, caregivers, and more. When we connect the dots, people with disabilities, friends, families, and others represent 73% of consumers. Yet businesses and organizations struggle to detect barriers and connect us with information needed to cater to this untapped market segment. We're constantly left asking, what is accessible, where, and to who? And that is why at Access Now, our mission is to establish a go-to resource for accessibility information. We're building an inclusive, connected ecosystem, empowering people with disabilities globally by connecting businesses that are accessible and organizations that want to be with consumers via an inclusive and authentic platform to make better decisions, remove barriers, and discover a world of accessible opportunities. Over the last 5 years, we've heard from our community about all different types of aspects of accessibility and what is important to people when they show up at different spaces like hotels, restaurants, tourist attractions, and so much more. And most recently, we've also begun working with parks, trails, and tourism associations to help map the accessibility of their spaces, promote safe and inclusive outdoor experiences, and help people understand that they do also have access to the wonders that are the accessible outdoors through our Access Outdoors program. With our Access Outdoors program, we're fusing lived experience data with real-time sensor data right on your mobile phone, allowing us to detect accessibility aspects like ground roughness, elevation, side slopes, and more. Now, users on the Access Now app are able to discover reliable information about incredible outdoor experiences around the world. With over 1 million locations shared to date in 35 countries, we have one clear mission: to share accessibility information to empower people with lived experience of disability to discover more. Now is the time to close this disability divide. We know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a driving force amongst every different industry. And with Access Now, we've been able to garner over 50 million impressions in earned media, establishing ourselves as leaders. And we're excited to engage with tourism associations, with companies and others looking to get into this space. Thank you for this opportunity to share, and looking forward to learning more about what you're doing to create an accessible and inclusive experience for someone. Thanks.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful philosophy. Travel, movement is the antidote to isolation, and all we want is connectivity. So it's a tremendous effort with great results. I love that. 1 million locations. It's essentially crowdsourcing content that is relevant. I mean, that's a great model. Sasha?
Absolutely. For the community, by the community, which is incredibly powerful, as you said.
Hi, this is Sasha again from Google Maps. I am a huge fan of MyAm and Access Now. I've been following your work. I think it's terrific, and I love the outdoor initiatives. I'm curious, how have you worked with the fact that something like a national park doesn't just have one entrance and exit? The fact that it's not necessarily a binary attribute, accessible or not. How do you help people give a more thorough, comprehensive look at there are some parts of it that work, some parts of it that don't, and tell people overall, is this place a good one or a friendly one for people with disabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And Sasha, I know Mayan is sad that she can't be on the call, and especially knowing, of course, that you're part of the judging panel. So thank you. So in Access Outdoors, we absolutely look at trails and parks as not a complete, just one-sided end-to-end. So we absolutely acknowledge that there's multiple entry points. So we think it's really important that folks capture this information. And so in so many ways, and if I could visually represent it, you would see essentially a line on within the app that goes from green to yellow to red, dependent on the segment of that trail, a level of accessibility. So whether it's green, accessible, yellow, partially accessible, or red, not accessible. That way, as opposed to telling folks, okay, yes, overall it's accessible, we're actually able to pinpoint specific areas and add points along the trail or within the park itself to identify different features like amenities, hazards, closures, entry points, points of interest, and other information like that. So we really try to give as fulsome of a picture as possible so that folks have as much information to work off of to make an informed decision of whether it would be accessible for them or not.
Great presentation. I was wondering how soon you could come to my destination and roll this out. Can you talk a little bit about the business model, and is there an investment part on behalf of the destination, or is it covered by your company?
Yeah, no, great question. So the best way to look at it is that Access Outdoors exists as a product of Access Now. So Access Now is free to download, will forever be free to download on the App Store or on Google Play. Access Outdoors is a private app that is licensed separately. So we actually work directly with destinations, trailheads, groups, and so forth. And so essentially, the best way to look at the business model is that we really envision ourselves as an end-to-end solution. So we actually pride ourselves on the bulk of the mapping work that we've done to date being by folks who identify as persons with disabilities. So we can actually support an organization, a destination, and so forth with actually staffing, hiring, training folks to do the work, as well as being that end-to-end solution. So not only getting folks up to speed on how to use the app, but licensing the product to them, doing all the data analysis and the export of the data. We produce barrier reports, we stage the information, and working directly with your destination, we would essentially work with you to get that information live within the public-facing Access Now app, just to give a bit of context on the program itself. All of this being said, I would say the entry kind of investment into working with Access Outdoors is approximately $25,000 to $30,000. And really is dependent on the scope of your project. So I would say that that would be a kind of a bare minimum investment to get that full scope end-to-end work with us. But of course, any trail in any park, no two trails or parks are of course built the same. So dependent on the scope. So by way of how many kilometers, how large of a space, how many folks would be required to of course get the work done, how many days would be required for mapping, we would kind of work with you to basically build out a bit of a program and a price associated with that. But minimum entry would be that $25,000 to $30,000 investment. And we are very keen to work with you. So to your first comment about how quickly we can make this happen, as quick as you want.
So this is Ron from Royal Caribbean Group. So I love this concept, and we've heard many versions of this concept over the years, because really the idea is that people with disabilities need information about their destinations in order to make decisions whether or not they're going to travel there, whether or not it's going to meet their needs. So I find the challenge is the fundamental issue of what defines accessibility, and you have to answer two questions. One is, who's doing the assessment of the destination as accessible? It sounds like you're training inspectors, so to speak, to validate the destination as accessible. Because I started hearing user validation. It sounds like a Yelp or a user review, but it sounds like you're doing trained inspectors. So if you answer that question, it might help with the second question. It's defining accessibility, because this is the challenge I've had with this concept for years. It's the fact that the definition of accessibility varies by person. And when you collect data for a location, it could be I'll say a zillion data points, which is not meaningful for a lot of people, because when you have people with disabilities and they're looking at a destination, there's a zillion data points, and it all becomes overwhelming and confusing and not tailored to guest's particular accessibility needs. So I guess that's my challenge, and how does your application address that concern and make it easy for the guest, the traveler with a disability, to make a decision about how accessible the destination is for them? I know that's a long question, but
No,
hope you can answer
it's a
that.
great question. Really, for us, and what I appreciate about Mayun's vision was that it was never just going to be exclusively about disabilities defined by mobility. And so we really do try to take a pan-disability lens, acknowledging folks identify with a variety of different disabilities, whether it's from the vision loss community, the hearing loss community, those with cognitive disabilities, and so forth. And so within the mapping, and just to give some context, so as a destination who were to be hiring us to use Access Outdoors, that first initial assessment is essentially done by hired mappers who hopefully identify as folks with persons with disabilities so that they could share their lived experience in addition to the objective data collection that's happening behind the scenes through your phone sensors. And so that will exist as the first review on a trail or a park that gets uploaded into Access Now. The way we kind of invite our community to participate is hearing from that first review. And our hope is that we have different folks identifying with different disabilities, providing that initial assessment. So envision that for your destination, for a trail, we would hire someone who is from the vision loss community, the hearing loss community, perhaps someone with a cognitive disability, as well as mobility, to basically go out and provide that initial assessment. So there is varying lived experiences and subjective opinions shared about the accessibility of that particular trail. Because we couldn't agree more that accessibility means different things to different folks. We very much acknowledge that. And so the more reviews we have on any particular trail, location, park, etc., the better we can provide that fulsome picture to the individual, the user that's essentially going to look that place up and want to get as much information as possible. So once we kind of get that initial assessment up and running within the app itself, then we invite our users and our community. We do quite a great marketing effort to essentially encourage folks to check out the reviews, check out the space themselves, encourage them to add a review on top. So any one review that exists within Access Now may have up to 10, 20, 30, if not more reviews on top of it. So
Perfect,
that's similar
perfect.
to Yelp.
Very good. So all these additional reviews are included in your turnkey solution, essentially.
That's
and you
correct.
thought through those
Yeah.
issues. Thank you so much. Next patient, Revolve Air Wheel, which is one of my personal favorites, because last week I was flying from a European destination to home in San Francisco, and there was a guy carrying as big of an equipment as that monitor there, and that was allegedly his bicycle. It was very hard to put it on, so when I looked at it, I was like, wow, this sounds really interesting. Corie. Go ahead, please. You're on. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear
Thank
me?
you. Yes, we can.
Hi,
You're
hi,
alive.
sorry, there was some problem with the audio, yeah. Thank you for your introduction, yeah. I was wondering if you already saw the videos about the project, and in this case, I would like a bit to introduce about the project, basically, in the way to describe Revolve Air, which aim to be the world's first active wheelchair suitable as cabin luggage inside the cabin of an airplane. And the mission is basically to allow wheelchair user to traveling between any type of a small car, no need to check in the wheelchair before the flight, so be able to fly without checking in, so like the possibility to store the wheelchair on an overlocker or under the seat. And in this way, to opening up the possibility to actually moving with more independence. So as we know, airlines damage every year thousands of wheelchairs. So with Revolve Air, we really aim to reduce this big issue and allowed also the user to drive compact cars, for example, a Smart or a Hygo. And exactly 1 year ago, we unveiled the concept, basically, exactly in Travelability Summit. And after 1 year, we actually have a first functional prototype that we developed with the partners in the Netherlands and in London, in the UK. And we were able actually to cooperate with airlines, in this case with the Iberia Airlines in Spain, with Toyota now between Spain and Italy. And in this way, we actually certify the fact that the wheelchair is suitable in the cabin luggage in the plane. And in this way, it's making the user as well much more independent.
Corie,
Apart from
I
this-
hate to interrupt you, and I will ask you about the incredible engineering, innovation, and technology that went into the equipment. We would love to place you on hold for a second and show the video.
Yeah.
Because we
Sounds
have
great.
it from another platform. So if you don't mind standing by, and we are going to play the video now.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Thank you. This was one of those, when I was preparing for today, I looked at the video and I said, wow, they have some heavy-duty engineers there.
We are global travelers, moving between cars, trains, and airplanes. We always want to feel free to travel while saving time and be independent. Active wheelchair users depends by the 24 inches of wheels to freely move everywhere. The large size of those wheels together with its frame and seat bring many restrictions, as they are obliged to check in the wheelchair while traveling by plane. Indeed, they need constant assistance along the whole journey. Revolve Air aims to give a total new independence to all active wheelchair users, which commute and travel every day. No more needs to check in the wheelchair at the airport hours before the flight, with the risk of damage to the valuable and necessary chair. No need to store the wheelchair in a large car trunk, giving them the freedom to drive small cars or take any taxi available. Plus less need of assistance along the journey, for more time to invest for what really matters, the freedom to travel light and efficiently. It folds in the same amount of time of a common foldable wheelchair, but saved up to 60% more space when folded. Both 24-inch wheels can collapse along the same hub together, with the seat and backrest, guaranteeing a unique compactness and transportability. Revolve can be remotely booked via smartphone, as easy as booking a train ticket. A new way to save space and time.
To shape together a better and more efficient way to move for all active wheelchair users.
Revolve Air, the wheelchair in a new form.
So Jake was whispering into my ears that I shouldn't be surprised that this is a complete game changer, because it's coming from the Formula One design school with graphene. When I saw it, I was just blown away. This is really the next generation. Andrea, this is phenomenal. So how many engineers did you work on this kind of really complex project?
Well, the project at the end is been unveiled last year as an independent project, self-financed. Since then, the project got a lot of attention worldwide through media and also several awards, for example, Red Dot Award and Time Magazine Best Invention 2021. And most recently as well, European Startup of the Year for Mobility, just a week ago in Paris. And since then, basically, some engineers from the Formula One background asked to actually collaborate in the project to actually make the wheelchair extremely light and portable, together with engineers coming from Philips Medical to actually re-engineer the wheel to make it even more safer, even more stable, and also more ergonomics for the user. So together with this team of engineers of up to 12 engineers, we are now running into the manufacturing stage, and we are going to start the fundraising actually from the next week to raise 2.5 million actually to manufacture the wheelchair and enter the market basically worldwide. So the idea is to offering the best material in the market, of course, which is the lightest composite materials, but of course also working in scalability, so to reach the global market, also USA, of course, and in the way to have a more democratic price for everyone.
Very impressive. Let's stay in touch about the investment opportunity for the next round, because this is a very exciting new dimension for this. Judges, please.
Hi, Andrea. This is phenomenal. Really impressive engineering. My main problem is, when can I try one? Where is it? I'm looking under the table here. I don't see it tucked in. That's my biggest issue. But I'm really curious about the use case. Are you thinking of this? Would this be, so for someone like me, who's a full-time wheelchair user, from the moment I get out of bed to the moment I go to sleep, I'm using my chair. Is this that kind of chair? Would you use this full-time, or is it, in these examples, you see it more for someone getting on a plane or when they're in transit, but it's more of a periodic use?
Good question, and thanks also for your appreciation. I love the fact that you want to try it, because it's the exactly things that we are running now in Europe. I'm based at the moment in Germany, Munich, and the company is in the Netherlands. And we are at the moment doing a European tourney to test the wheelchair with Paralympic athletes, which travel and fly every week, so to have feedbacks from them. And the feedback they have is that in terms of wheels, especially, they feel really comfortable, also for long ride, for, let's say, the 24 hours a day. But of course, also the seat is being evolved. If you follow basically the latest post I had in LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, where I'm more showing what is happening in the last days, because of course the website is showing more the previous version of Revolver. The new version is designed and engineered together with the user. So there is a lot of improvement in terms of ergonomics, in terms of usability, in terms of folding and unfolding. And we are running a lot of tests in these days to actually improve and make it even better for manufacturing. That's why we're going to start the fundraising really soon, because we need, let's say, more investment to accurate and refine the details, because already a lot of work is being done. But as basically we are trying to reinvent the wheelchair itself, we need to make it even more safe and certified, actually, to be also running through insurance, and have the user basically happy 100% about the product, not only aesthetically, but also about how easy it's going to make his life through the usage of public and private transportation. So looking forward to come to New York soon. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to fly to New York in the morning, actually.
Perfect.
But only
See
for
you there.
a short day, but hopefully more longer soon for more testing.
Thank you. This is Ron from Royal Caribbean Group. So I have a couple of questions. And one is, what is your business model looking for your product? Is this something that you're anticipating that people will purchase and use on an ongoing basis? Or are you looking at this, what I kind of gathered from the video, as sort of a rentable product, meaning that it's offered at a rental basis, like at destinations or cruise ships? That's the first question, and whether it's permanent purchase or rentable. And the second question I have is from a durability standpoint, because as I see wheelchairs become lighter and more compact, the durability goes down because you're using lighter weight materials and then it breaks down more often. So I'm sure your engineers may have looked at that. So help me answer the durability question, which is the second.
Yeah. Now, great questions about the business model. In the past years, we've been trying different ways to, let's say, going B2C first, of course, because the product is going to be quite a high-end product to be for early adopters, also for the usage of material, and through the airlines and Toyota itself, so car companies, we managed to actually develop a B2B business model as well in terms of renting, especially for the wheels, because of course the wheelchair is really personal in terms of also ergonomics and in terms of proportion. So the message we have is like, we are going first B2C for the user. Also, like something we are looking is partnering with the big players, OEMs for wheelchair manufacturers, in the way to accelerate our process, because of course we are a startup, so we are not in the market yet, in the wheelchair market. So we are also looking for strategic partners to accelerate this process as a B2C. And beside that, with again, car companies, airlines, public spaces in terms of museums, event. Also, we are in discussion with the Olympics game in Paris 2024 to offering also not just affordable wheelchair, but also like something that is covering more the last mile for people that are not permanent wheelchair user though. So they can still walk a bit. They need the wheelchair more to cover in the last mile, as I call it, or for where you have to spend the long day in an event or in a museum or by traveling. So that's
Andrea,
something that
for this audience, there could be one option. The DMO picks up the phone, talks to the airport saying, hey, we want to distribute that for the flights. So you pick up your equipment and you fly with it, and then you drop it off upon arrival. That's one of those options when you are ready to go to the market. Excellent.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's actually something really important. And another point about the B2B is, of course, the durability, because if for the B2C, we are really working along the user to make the folding and unfolding as minimal as possible. So we are basically reinventing every component to making it as durable as possible. We have already running testing of folding the wheels for thousands of times. And the product still is really tough, really strong, because it's been through 7 years of prototyping. So we have run hundreds of prototyping testing. So we are going to a level that actually now is really fine-tuning the last details before manufacturing, and especially reducing as much as possible the weight, because in that way we can also reduce the amount of risk to have the wheel not durable as a normal wheel, of course. But in this case as well, in terms of durability, the fact that I've been studying with the users, that it's not that they
Promise, Andrea, it will still be cheaper than a Formula One race car.
Yeah,
Ed,
actually,
you have a question.
the wheel that you can drive a Formula One as well.
Okay.
Less of a question, just a quick point. I think this also benefits the caregivers. My parents, unfortunately, my dad is now in a wheelchair as of 2 years ago, and my mother, who is also in her 70s, unfortunately is very limited now in what she can do as the primary caregiver, mainly because his wheelchair is so heavy and hard to get into her car. So I just want to personally thank you for developing this game-changing product.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, like, we are really working hard to make it happen as soon as possible. So it's a new product, and we are just looking forward to give to all the wheelchair users that actually travel, they want to travel more, they want to struggle less to drive any car, take any plane without doing any sport. Also, because I've been using and testing the wheelchair with so many people that are doing so many different sports, and they are flying, they are with the paragliding, for example, the kayaking, or of course with the end bikes. There is so many people that need this technology, not just to go by plane or by car, but also for their hobbies, to actually stop anywhere, unfold the wheelchair, go to meet the family, go back in the end bike, and goes again for some sport. So there is a lot of possibility out there, and of course also about the public spaces and museum and to rent a wheelchair and making it really like a global product.
Excellent. Thank you so much. According to my schedule, we have a short break, and it was wonderful to finish the Zoom session with a product that is thriving for perfection, and it's very useful for everybody, caretakers, patients, everybody. Thank you so much again. And
Thank
we'll be
you
back
so much, everyone.
in
Thank you so much.